Hi and welcome. I'm Robert Liesler and I'm your guide for the series of videos on the core sentence. I don't know if you're aware of the fact that there is a quote framing the whole project, and this quote comes from Warren Buffett. I don't think I have to introduce this poor guy to you. What he said is, it's not necessary to do extraordinary things to get extraordinary results. Well, I think that this quote will come handy because you need results. Well, I need results and your boss needs results. Everybody needs results. When you look at the core sentence, the good news is that what is expected from you is nothing extraordinary. But I believe that you deserve a quote that would be exclusive to this particular video. And this one comes from Mark Twain. The secret of getting ahead is getting started. Okay, where shall we start? Well, let's start at the end of the whole thing, with the part so that the customer's prescribing habits change. Now, why would I want to start at the end of the whole thing? Well, I believe that this part on the change of habits is very important. And why is it so important? Well, no change in prescribing habits, no change in sales. Now, you may argue that this is not 100% true, and you're right, because with a strong season, there are more patients coming to your doctors, and with more patients coming to your doctors, the sales are going up. But do you really want to depend on the season? Do you want to wait for good weather? No, I don't think so. And with market share, it is 100% true. No change in the behavior, no change in market share, even with the strongest of seasons. What change are we talking about? What possibly could your customers do differently? You know these comments, don't you?
As I told you, all suitable patients have been offered AIT.
You know, I prescribe a lot. What do you want?
At least this last question is easy to answer. You wish they prescribe more, don't you? But wishing may not be enough here. Let's say they want to do that. Let's say they want to prescribe Stelligen's Greer products more because they like you, because they're grateful for all the service and support they've been getting from you, because they like Stelligen's Greer, because they want to help somebody who is working so hard. Whatever the reason is, they still need to find new patients. They still need to find patients who so far have not been getting Stelligen's Greer products. And this might be a slight problem. You know how busy they are, so they will not spend a lot of time thinking over where they could and could not use the products. So if you don't do it, if you don't show them the new situation where they could be using Stelligen's Greer products, then they in the end may not do it. In other words, it's up to you. And on top of that, you have to find this new situation that will be acceptable for the physician, because you want a change, but it must be a change that they are willing to do. I guess it's a little bit like circles. Well, I have to admit that my circles look more like potatoes, but for the principle, it's all the same. What do the circles or potatoes mean? The inner one, the green one, that's where you are today in the specific surgery with a specific physician. The blue one is where you want to be tomorrow. The inner one are the patients who currently are using Stelligen's Greer products. The blue one are those patients who could be using it tomorrow. Let's make the example more specific. So you could have a practice, you could have a physician where the green circle represents today's patients, patients who have seasonal symptoms, and in tests they react exclusively to pollen. So the next circle could be polyvalent allergies, where the grass would be dominant but not the only allergen. And you convince the doctor that for these patients it is always beneficial to start AIT. So the intention is to expand. And of course, there are more circles than 2. There will be another one. And yet another one and another one. I think that it's clear. Well, I know that in the end, the answers you get, the reactions you get from the physicians are similar to one another. We heard it a while ago. But when you look at 2 physicians who work in similar conditions, in comparable practices, you will find out that the numbers of those suitable and indicated patients differ a lot. So you have one with 20 of such patients, and you have another one in a similar practice who has 100. Now, how come? This leaves you with a task to find out who these indicated and suitable patients exactly and precisely are. We are not talking indication from SPC, of course. We are talking individual criteria of each physician. Criteria that will decide which patients will get AIT and which patients will not. To sum it up, if you want to change somebody's prescribing habits, you need to know very accurately what these habits look like today, and then you can decide what you wish them to be tomorrow. We started saying that you need results, and we haven't been talking numbers so far at all. Well, because firstly you have to find out what change is acceptable for the doctor and what this shift in habits will in the end mean in terms of figures. So you know the current habits of the physician, you know where you want to move next, what change you want to bring. It is wise to start thinking about the arguments that would support such change. And it may be even wiser to think about arguments that the physicians will use to reject your proposals. What is it that we are talking here about? Well, this is the famous long-term planning and the basis of your future sales. The next logical question is, do I have to make such plans for each and every customer? Well, the general recommendation is that you make detailed individual plans for top 15% of your customers. So if you're seeing 100 doctors, if you have 100 doctors in your database, then it will be 15 detailed plans. If you have 150 customers, then you will make 20, 25 detailed plans. The final number will be decided by your boss because it depends on your specific situation, not only on the general recommendation. It will be different in a launch period. It depends on the coverage of your customers. It depends on the season. But the thinking process behind is always the same. The plan will always cover your intentions and your activities for the top 15% of your customers. Intentions are your plans for the next group of patients who can be started on Stalogen's Greer products. You remember the circles? And activities is whatever will bring you there. So it will be calls, of course, but webinars, seminars, roundtables, video calls, whatever you want to do to get the result that you're planning. Okay, so that's the top 15%. What about the rest? Well, if you made individual plans for the whole of your database, you would find out that when you get below the top 15% of your customers, your intentions and your activities start to repeat. That's because the next group of customers start to be similar to one another. So it's perfectly okay to have one plan for the next group of customers. I have a few questions here for you to think about. The first question is, where do the differences between physicians with similar practices come from? You remember one who has 20 suitable patients and the other one who has 100. My next question. When you think about your most important customers who prescribe most of your product, do they have something in common apart from the sales volumes, of course? My next question to you is, very often, if you want to bring change in sales and change in behavior of your customers, you have to bring some change also into what you are doing. So my next question is, what will you do differently to sell more? Few final words on the topic of long-term planning. When you start thinking about your customers, when you dig deeper, you will find out that you don't know all the information you would like to have. Well, that's perfectly normal. In such situations, the best answer you can give is, I don't know. It is much better to admit that you don't know than to build your plans and your future sales on assumptions that later prove wrong. It is much better to add the missing information on your to-do list, and you know that there is something you should find out. Thank you for watching and good luck.